Hello, good morning and welcome back to the Fish Locker out on the boat. Out on an absolutely stunning morning on the boat. Look at that. Blue sky, sun's out, sea's flat, birds are singing. I tell you what, it's the middle of May and this is the first day I've felt like we might even get a summer this year. We also have some exciting news. Now anybody that's followed the channel pretty much since the channel's conception, the very original boat I had Garmin on it. Second boat I had Garmin on it. This boat I have Garmin on it. I have just signed on as a Garmin Fishing Ambassador. So very occasionally you might see a little bit of Garmin sneak in there. And obviously you'll see Garmin on the boat. Now don't worry, the guys at Garmin, they've promised this, they don't want to change the channel in any way, they just want to help me make better videos. Now who could pass up an opportunity like that? I was fortunate enough last year, I met a couple of the reps, Zoe and Nick. And I took them out on the boat and they taught me through some of the features of the Livescope XR system that I had fitted to the boat. That's XR extended range. And anybody who saw that video, in fact, I'll put a little clip in here to show you the XR system and how it works and how I used it. Historically, the way that I've always mounted my transducers is just straight on the back of the transom or through the hull. Like this one here for the fish finder, and the previous one that I had mounted on there just goes straight on the back of the transom, just below the level where the bottom of the keel is. But the Livescope XR, you can see it's a much bigger transducer. It's, well, that size. And that sticking down below there would have caused an awful lot of wash and drag. So instead what it is it's mounted on a trolling motor pole. By pulling the little lever at the back of there, clicks into place, and then to lower it, all you do is you'll slacken this off and it'll drop down. Now I can't drop it all the way because the trailer's there at the minute, but that also shows you that you can search out the water by rotating it much like that. What I'll do is I'll take you out in the water and I'll show you rotating it. Currently this is setting up so that it's looking backwards in the forward. So deploy it, click it in place. It'll make sense when I show you because the orientation, you can either look down, as in like a cone down, or it looks forward. Now I've turned that back to front, so it's actually forward to that is down the back of the boat. Because when I'm fishing at anchor, I want to be looking down there where my lines are, not up the front towards where the anchor is. There we are. The two setups that I was talking about. Down just shows you straight down under the boat. There's the seabed, look. This here that you can see here is the anchor chain from that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate it. This is useful for when you're trying to find bait or when you're trying to find where a feature is around you. And you will see on the screen that I'm putting in, you'll be able to see because the bank that I'm on at the moment is sloping down away from me. So in front of us where that chain is shallower than behind us, and you should see the depth change. All I need to do to rotate it, slacken that off a little tiny bit and then just slowly rotate it. There, I've got a full rotation. You saw it start where the chain was right in front of us, and then I rotated all the way around 360 degrees until the chain was back in front of us. Now there is a little patch of fish moving around, but they are only really small. By altering the gain, all I try to do is I turn the gain right up until I can't see anything but like red, and then back it off. There is a little patch of fish, and I think what they're doing is they're hiding round the chain of that, because I can see them every now and again coming through on the sounder. I had that system fitted down there. Now anybody who watches my videos also will know that I like working pots. I have a platform here for working pots off the back of my boat. Now unfortunately that meant because I'm working pots off the back of here and I had a trolling motor pole down there, it meant that it was a snagging hazard. Now nobody else would have that problem, nobody else has got the system like I have. It was just unfortunate, it was just bad luck that was where I had to have it mounted, and it was a pole, and yeah. So I asked, and I have opted to change it to a Livesope Plus, and that is now mounted on the transducer is now mounted on the transom down there. We swapped out the Livescope XR, which was fitted here on a trolling motor pole. It's quite a large transducer. And this is the Livescope Plus transducer. There. The Livescope XR extended range was amazing in deep water. That's where it came into its own. Like the clarity we got on some of them wrecks out there in 80-90 metres of water was phenomenal. The Livescope Plus, which I now have fitted, try and think of the right way of saying this, gives you better clarity and definition in shallower water. So any of the fishing that we're doing in areas like this, shallow estuaries, or up in the creeks, or on the shallow reefs, that's where that should come into its own. We will find out today, because this is the first day that I'm using it. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do today. I'm planning on just doing some mixed fishing. I couldn't pass up the opportunity of a day at sea on a day like today. So we'll head to some reefs. Might put the anchor down later on, I don't know, we'll just see what the fishing's doing. Let's go. What an absolute stunner he is. He is a really good looking one. That's a male cuckoo wrasse. And a really good example. In my opinion, these are the best looking fish in UK waters. No two exactly the same either. They're all slightly unique. This is quite a nice size one. The females, they're really distinctive as well. They're usually a lot smaller, and they're like a peachy pinky colour. Oh, splashed me. Yeah. Not the target species, but always wonderful to see. I've put the Livescope on, the Livescope Plus on. Yeah, that is pretty special, that. You can see all the individual fish down on the sea, but right, what we're coming up to here is, as the tide is going down over a bit of reef, I can see the fish on the Livescope sitting on the back side of the rock. Being able to decipher what it is that you're looking at. The brightest and the palest feedback that we're getting on there is bits of rock. So that's the seabed. And the fainter little bits just above it is weed. If you're getting any little white dots, any little bright dots that are off the seabed, that's fish. And there's your female cuckoo wrasse. Me no mackerel around here. I've had one sand eel. Carry this drift on for another 2 minutes and then I'll go somewhere else. Look who I'm being joined by. They are incredible. We get dolphins quite a lot down here, but usually it's the common dolphins. These are big bottlenose. These ones are massive. These ones are like, well, probably 3-4 meters long. And what it is, I'm sure of it, is what I'll have shown you on the screen is I've linked up my Livescope. There are tons and tons of tiny fish, like tiny sprats. I've dropped the feathers down in amongst them and I can't seem to pick them up, and they're all sat at a level in the water, and that's obviously what these guys are after. That's better. That's what we're after. Oh, that's even better. That's even better. As I was watching on the Livescope, and I could see there was some mackerel down around about 20 to 25 metres. So I watched the lure go down, I watched the feathers go down all the way to the level where they were. And there you go. Oh no! Now all it is, one of the live sand eels on a sliding float. I just drifted off in my mind. I was just looking at the waves hitting on the rocks, and I was thinking, oh, isn't that peaceful? Isn't that nice? Yeah. Lapse of concentration for a couple of seconds, and I missed it. All we're doing is we're just drifting over an area of reef. The way that went down then, that was a pollock. It just went and just hit it and then went. And all it did was I just didn't stop it in time before it reached the kelp. Oh, got it. Oh, and he's off. It's only a pollock of about maybe 3.5, 4 pound. Next time I'll get the net. Because the bait fish that are down there are only really small, I opted to use a small lure, which means it only has a small hook, which is why I had to take it really gently with it. And all it did there was it just opened its mouth, shook its head, and a little hook came up. Been fishing away for 5 minutes and haven't even turned the camera on. Well, I was hoping they were going to get bigger, not smaller. I put a tiny spinner on. Because all the bait that was going past was absolutely minuscule, I put a tiny spinner on and it's got really small hooks on it. Oh, I just can't get him in the boat today. Ah. Yeah, I've got a tiny spinner. That's like 5 fish I've lost now. Come on, need to have a word with myself. Got ya. Wasn't letting that one get off. Got there in the end. Yeah, the feed that the bait fish that they're feeding on is absolutely tiny. I've seen it. So I'm only going to be able to really pick them up on the tiniest little spinners. Ah, that was a better fish, that. Yeah, I'm only going to pick them up on the tiniest spinners, and unfortunately they've got really small hooks on them, so you are going to ping a few off. Not making that same mistake again. Glad I did that with the net because the hook's fallen out in the net. A lovely pollock. They're absolutely stunning when they've been living in... Sorry, what a bit of sideways motion. They're absolutely lovely when they're living in the kelp because they've got all this motley colour down the sides. So the small lure's doing it. It's a shame about that live bait, because that first hit that we had on the live bait was a big fish. It was a good fish. Nope. Ah, no, not gonna. Got a fish on one rod, and the live bait's come stuck on the bottom. There we go. Managed to get the float and the rig back, but there was no fish on the end of it, so it must have just traded me for a piece of kelp. But yeah, the damage is all being done by one of these little sidewinder speed jigs, and I think it's only, must only be like 15 gram, if that. It's just about finding what the fish are feeding on, like match to hatch. Oh, bless me. There's no point me using like an 8-inch lure if what the fish are feeding on is only 2 inches long, because they won't take it. If they're already honed in to feed on something, you can present them something else and it can be right in front of them and they just won't take it. Oh, got you. Oh. All I'm doing is just varying up the technique, like cast and retrieve, dropping it to the bottom, bouncing it off the bottom. Not going to come off. Not going to come off. Oh, you're in the net now though. A lovely stamp. This one's got a few lice on him. I don't know if you can see these lice here. A wonderful sport. Yeah, got you. Ooh, this might be a better one, you know. Still got to take it easy with it. Yeah, like I was saying, all I'm doing is varying up the method that I'm using until I can find out what they're taking it. Casting and retrieving along high, like high up in the water, because I could see some bass high up. And then the next one's dropping all the way at the bottom, bouncing around on the bottom to see if they're feeding on the bottom. Oh, this is a beautiful ballan wrasse. Get in the net. Get in the net. All those folks saying, oh John, get a rubber net. The hooks don't stick in a rubber net. Yeah, they do. That is an absolutely stunning. Oh, got you now though. Stunning ballan wrasse. Just look. If we can stop rolling around for a second. Yeah, look at that ballan wrasse. He's an absolute stunner. Devoured that lure as well, hasn't he? Look. for anyone going to comment about me, how I'm holding these fish, my fingers are just up inside of the gill plate. Move your pin. If you slide your hand just up the inside of the gill plate, it doesn't come in contact with the gills. Now the gills are very, very fragile. You don't want to put your fingers in them. By being gentle and careful and sliding your fingers up inside the gill cover, you don't come in contact with the gill membranes. The fish is perfectly fine. Back he goes. So yeah, just it's finding the area where it's going on. Fished all around this area, and maybe change only 200 yards. Bass, pollock, I've had a mackerel as well, and a big ballan wrasse like that. Just about honing in. Now, some of the footage that I've got from this Livescope today has been absolutely incredible. I'm gonna get straight back down amongst it. This is just a conflict inshore and a pen slammer for 4,500. Now it is, the reel is slightly overkill for what we're catching today, but you never know, there might be a double figure pollock kicking about. Oh, there's a fish. Ooh. I just love it. Fishing light like this. Yeah, I love it. Another nice stocky pollock. I don't know if you can see that there on the side of his face. Stop. This here. That's like an abnormality. I think what's happened before to this guy, in fact, he's got some scars on his side there. You can see him. This guy's had a wound on this side of his face before. It might even be a hook that's come out and he's healed up. Little war horse, aren't you? Cracking spot on the light gear like that. The way that I'm returning these fish as well is I'm not throwing them back. I'm not throwing them back so they're landing flat, so they're like torpedo them in head first. You saw there, its mouth was open, its gills were all up. It still had plenty of energy. It wanted to be back in the water. When you kind of torpedo them back head first, it kicks them on. It like gives them a kick start onto starting swimming, and it gets a burst of oxygenated water over its gills, so they go back better. Now some fish that you catch, if you're playing them out for a long time, like when you're carp fishing or things like that, or sometimes when you'll be fishing you catch like a really big bass, they're knackered, they're lethargic, they're just, you can feel them almost limp in your hands. That's when you need to hold them in the water to recover them. When they're ready to go back like that, you can just drop them straight, like I did with the wrasse, like I've done with all of them. You can see that when they come to the boat, they're still on it. All their fins are still up, their mouths are open, their gills are flared. They want to be back in the water. Back in a little bit deeper water now, I'll put the live bait back out. Got you. Got you. That one had been twanging and banging at that for like 10 seconds. Just wasn't committing. There we go, look. There we go. All of these fish today have been anywhere between like 3 and 4 pound, but like a couple of titty tiny ones. If I get one of about 5 pound, I'd take it for the table. bass of 4 and a pollock between 5 and 6 is perfect. 18 metres. Oh, there's a fish. Just flicked round and looked at the sound and I thought, that's a fish, that. I actually saw that. Saw my lure drop down and I saw a fish come out of nowhere and smash it. Some days you find the right method in the right place. Just it all comes together, doesn't it? You ready for it? It's following it. Oh, there it is. Ha! Again, I watched that happen. I'm gonna have to set the sounder up so that I can record to show you. See if I can't set up to record to show you how I did that. Here you can see marks of fish swimming around between 8 and 10 metres from the seabed. You can watch my lure drop down from the surface, all the way down to the fish. In this shot you can even see my line. I jig the lure to entice a bite and you can see me play the fish up to the surface. The other fish even follow it up. Got it. I watched that fish come up after the lure, so then when I dropped it back down, saw it turn on it. Yeah, I hope it's come across alright. They have got a massive mouth, haven't they? Look at the size of that gullet. See what I mean now about all its fins are up and it's ready to go? What a stunning day. Yeah, I think personally the live bait's just too big for them. They're feeding on stuff that's half that size. Oh, another beautiful ballan wrasse. Oh. Yeah, this fish. Oh. Just about to say, this fish has still got a lot of fight left in it. Yeah, you can tell when they've still got a lot of fight left in them because they tense up. I could see he was ready to do a thrash because he went, you know, as in like when you're going to jump up in air and you go to jump up. Another absolute beauty. The colours underneath them are just unbelievable, aren't they? See you later. Right, I'm going to go back inshore and see if I can't catch another bass. I hadn't even had a chance to turn the camera on. I must have hit this one. I'm right on the end. Don't know what it is yet. Nice chunky mackerel. I must have clonked it right on it. Literally just cast like that. Picked the bail arm over, first wind and it was on. There is a lot to be said for fresh mackerel. Like people, I get asked a lot, what's my favourite fish to eat? Hey, it'll go a long way to get better than a fresh mackerel. Oh. That's a bass. Stopped me right in my tracks. Yeah, that's definitely a bass. It's not a big one, but it's the target species. I said I'm coming in short, I'll catch a bass. There you go. Little spinner right in its mouth. See what I mean about how their fins are all stuck up? His gills are flared. Look, his gills are flared. All of his fins and all of his spikes are stuck up. This guy is ready to go straight back in the water. Whoop. Like that. Now, from having some experience with fishing, I already kind of knew where to fish in the water column to catch different types of fish. As in, like when the tide drops and all the fish hug behind the rocks, or the mackerel are free swimming up in the water, or the same with the bass. Like a quick retrieve up near the surface is more likely to catch a bass, whereas dropping it down near the bottom is more likely. I already knew those things just from the experience. But it was brilliant being able to see it on the Livescope, being able to see the different fish at the different depths and see them reacting to the lures, or seeing them on the Livescope and thinking, all right, well, that's hidden behind a rock, that'll be a pollock or a wrasse, or that's a little one swimming erratically up in the water, that'll be a bass or that'll be a mackerel. So yeah, it was, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's fascinating. He's a proper little ginger one. Ending on a pollock. I don't mind ending on a pollock. I've had an amazing morning's fishing, and it's 10 past 11 in the morning. So yeah, what I'm going to do is, this was my last fish. I'm going to pack up now. I'm going to steam back and I can take my wife out for dinner. I hope you've enjoyed joining me. I hope you found it interesting. All the very best. See you later.